UNESCO Remote Radio Week 2021. Get ready for a week devoted to helping radio stations broadcast remotely.
Moving from AM to FM digital and this elusive topic that we've got for you around the cloud, Radio Rob from OpenBroadcaster in Canada. I think you're a tech head, I'm told. In fact, I did have a conversation with you last week. So I know that you have been creating cloud-related software that you've been using in certain parts of Canada. And I'd love for you to tell us that. But to begin with, let's just hone in on the topic again, which is why radio broadcasters should be using the cloud. And my question to you, Rob, is what are the installation and cost implications long term for the use of the cloud? Once people commit to it, they understand the value, they see the necessity, but where are the T's and C's?
Right. Cloud's really convenient, easy access, anywhere on the internet. It's a big buzzword, but really it's just internet access. And, I develop software, cloud-based software, run a radio station through a web interface, all open source. And the issue that comes up with maintenance and security, one of the great things about cloud software is that if it's a web service, then you can administer it all through the back end. So the maintenance of this to provide the service is greatly reduced. So you can have one server, you can have 1,000 customers or 1,000 people using it. You only have to upgrade the one service. You don't have to go to everybody's individual workstations and upgrade things. And then there's the cost too. A business case, you don't have to buy anything. You can pay as you go plans, so much a month. And if you don't use it, then your stuff is gone. Cloud is really convenient. Everybody's using Dropbox now and all those types of services. I live way up in northern Canada, above the 60th parallel. I'm just beside Alaska, and I've lived up here for close to 40 years now. And also tonight, the Northern Lights are out. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. So anyhow, we have really bad internet service up here. Very, very expensive, very unreliable. Where I live right now, I'm 120 kilometers from the city of Whitehorse, and so I'm right out in the sticks. And so anyhow, cloud service, you have to have decent internet to be able to run this. So if you're in a place that doesn't have good internet, you're going to have not so great experience with cloud software. Because it's all through the internet, and if the internet goes down, then you're out of business. So there's a couple of things that we've done, up in some of the far north communities too, that are satellite-based internet. Satellite-based is order of magnitude more expensive, 20 times more expensive, and even worse internet. So some of the challenges we have on that is we'll do local caching of content. So you'll have a server, and it'll administer the remote playout boxes, and then the playout boxes will then go and download the content different times of day. It'll buffer the stuff so that it only downloads at once. It doesn't constantly be doing downloads. And then the other thing that happens too, using some of our systems, is that if the internet goes down, there's still intelligence on the local box that it plays content and music and news and stuff. You don't want dead air in business of radio. So cloud stuff is super convenient. There's a couple of big things that people should be really aware of. And number one is backups of your data. And if you're going to be playing in the cloud, do not just put your stuff out in the cloud and hope for the best. I saw a slide that said your stuff on YouTube will be there forever. Yeah, it'll be there forever until it's not. And then what happens? How do you get the stuff back? And so lots of people have had this experience. You put your stuff into a storage locker on the cloud, and then the thing's gone. And if you go and look at the terms of service on all these things, there's always a big disclaimer that says you are responsible for your backups. And so the big thing that you want to be able to do, you have to have 3 different backups. If you don't know how to do 3 independent backups, you should not be putting your stuff out into the cloud, because you're going to do a whole bunch of work and then the thing's going to disappear. So that's one piece of advice there. And then the other one is reading the terms of service really, really clearly. Exactly what you're going to be paying for and what the terms of the service are. And I work with a lot of Indigenous groups, First Nation groups, and they have a lot of intellectual property, heritage stories, oral stories, traditional stories, knowledge of the land, and so they have intellectual property, and so they have to be very, very careful where they put that. They don't want to lose that. That's their heritage. So the same thing, when you put stuff out into the cloud, you should really take a look at what actually you're telling or giving permission for that group to use. And a test that you want to be able to do is, if you're evaluating some cloud services, can you take your data and your content, music, recordings, can you put it into the cloud service? And then at some point in time, can you take it all out of the cloud service, without it being a big hassle? And so that's a really, really good test. I've worked with lots of stations before, and they've built a media library. They put their stuff into the cloud, and then they go to get the stuff back, and they go, "Oh, you mean we can't get the thing back?" Or, "Oh, it's been re-encoded into a different format, and I can't get the original back." Or the other one, what happens if I quit paying? Do I get my stuff back? Or, "Oh, I have to pay forever." And so you have to be careful. There's lots of traps out there. So really, really pay attention on the intellectual property, what you're doing, and where the thing is going to be going to, and always have reliable backups. Not just an icon on your desktop that says the backup worked, but you actually know that your backups are working and you've restored them and stuff. So cloud is really good, but again, you have to have really, really good internet service to be able to use cloud stuff. So yeah, I think the cloud is the future. Is the cloud. Ambiguous access everywhere for different things. We just have to have a good understanding about how to use that cloud. And then the last thing I'll just say about clouds is if you can, if the concept is remote access to the cloud, to your service and stuff, think about how you can build your own cloud. If you can build your own cloud and you can contain all of your data inside your cloud, then you can take your cloud, you can host it out in another cloud and stuff, but always maintain control of your data.
Rob, thank you for that. I just wanted to ask you, though, and I think you've alluded to it, but if I decided today that I wanted to start a radio station, right, what would you advise the SKU be in terms of hardware and the cloud? So percentage-wise, would we be looking at focusing predominantly on the cloud and going 65% of all of our information, data, software, etc., is going to live in this virtual space, and then the remainder would be the hardware? Or, is it, the complete opposite? Can these two things live in tandem?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I was talking about doing caching services. So the content is out in the cloud. The playout is on a local box, and I've got this guy in here. So this is a balanced XLR. Audio. Anybody know what this guy is here? This is a Raspberry Pi version 4 in a custom metal case. You can stand on this case, and high quality audio balanced out. And so, this the way that our software system works is the management interface and the intelligence is out in the cloud. You tell it to create the schedules and upload the content to the cloud, and then that server manages this remote playout box. And so it will then download the content. It will cache it. It'll be smart enough, and it'll say, "Hey, I've already got that song. I don't need to download the thing 50 times and use that valuable bandwidth." And then if the internet goes down, then there's still intelligence in the box here that will play different content and stuff. And these Raspberry Pi high-end audio cards are like $150 US. So there's your playout device, cost next to nothing. If you just want a straight online radio station, station, like a traditional radio station, then you can do everything 100% in the cloud. You don't have to have anything in your house at all. You can just do it completely online. There's tons of services. $5 a month will get you a streaming service if you're an ethnic broadcaster, faith-based broadcaster. You've got under 100 listeners and stuff. $5 a month, yeah, no problem. You can do all that stuff. And there's services out there as well that do turnkey licensing. So you pay a flat fee monthly, and you get their web hosting, the service, the streaming mount points, and the music licensing as well to broadcast that music. So cloud is very, very convenient, and it's a cheap thing to be able to initially buy into. Again, you just have to know some of the things to watch out for, what you're actually getting into.
One more thing, and I think this is important to mention, given that we're talking about the radio industry and being clearly audible is the currency, right? But latency, when it comes to internet related things, particularly the cloud, that becomes an issue. So what is the solution in that case when latency is a hazard to the output?
Yeah, that's a good question. And latency, if you're using satellite internet services, the satellites, the 26,000 miles out in space, it's a half second to get out there. Speed of light, you can't get around the speed of light. So there's always going to be that delay. And if you're doing streaming stuff, there's going to be things, computer gamers, they can't use a satellite internet thing. It's just too slow. But now the other thing to keep in mind, live radio, how many people listen to a radio station and go, hey, that live radio station, that's not a live radio station. They pre-did that. They did that the night before. They did it a week before a lot of the shows. Radio nowadays is really changing from traditional things. You'll queue up your guests, you'll talk, you'll do the interview, you'll edit the thing out, and then you'll play the thing half an hour later, and people listen and go, hey, that sounded like a live thing. No, it's not all live. So that does take away some of the issues about latency if you're doing live programming. There is ways that you can get around that. Some of the cool stuff, though, that I've heard through this really interesting set of webinars about latency issues is there is different codecs, adaptive codecs, and open source stuff I'll be talking about later. But one of them is called Opus, and free software codec. And Opus, what it does is it will, depending on the bandwidth that you have, it will make the quality of the audio better. And then if the bandwidth starts getting congested or saturated, then it'll make the audio quality a little bit slower. And then if the pipe opens up, then it'll get bigger. So that's a really neat type of tool for doing stuff with spotty bandwidth. And again, where I live in the Yukon, man, I had 20 years of dealing with bad internet here, and not just bad internet. I'm talking, and there's other countries out here, where you have a government or you have entities that do not want free speech, and they don't want things to work, and so you're trying to make your radio station work, and people are pulling plugs and filtering and routing traffic and stuff. That is one of the beautiful things that I like about FM radio. I preach about this all the time. You can just turn the thing on and you can listen to it. You don't have to get an account. You don't have to get a password. You don't have to get an ID. You don't got to give up an IP. You can just listen to the thing. And so the information can also be freely distributed, right? Without having things locked down. But that's a different thing. So cloud stuff, everything's a cloud. As soon as you get onto a web browser, you're in the cloud. You're in the cloud. And but understanding about latency and just general networking. If you're a broadcaster, highly recommend learning basic networking 101. Umpteen YouTube videos to learn what's going on in the back end of your computer systems and IT stuff.
Thank you, Robin. I know that you have got a masterclass session coming up a little bit later on, where I'm sure we'll be talking more so about free and open source radio tools, etc. So looking forward to hearing you wax lyrical about that.